Hi folks, another practice session, working on the first third, and we're getting close to the end of it. So we're going to work on the punch today. Its formal name, step forward, deflect, parry, and punch. But let's start with some warm-ups. Now let's just do the bear for a second. And really, as you're doing the bear, try to feel your hips loose and free. So especially the empty leg, feel that quad opening as you turn away from the empty leg. So really try to get that feeling of looseness and freedom through the legs, and you're using one leg or the other, not both. And just let the whole rest of the body soften. The feet are quiet on the ground. You keep the tripod connected in each foot, even as the weight pours in and out of that foot. Another swing or two. The 70-30 shifting. First we'll pay attention to the stable supporting leg, and then we'll pay attention to the active leg. Which leg is stable and supporting you changes at the 50-50 point. So start out in a 70-30, weight forward. Sit down, which starts to move you back right at 50-50. Your rear leg takes over, you're standing on it. Sit down, which starts to move you forward at 50-50. The front leg takes over. You're standing on the front leg. So as you're doing this, really try to get that clear distinction of which leg you're using to support you. One leg owns both sides of the pelvis. You only have one leg. And that leg changes right at 50-50 in an instant, even as you continue to shift. When the new leg takes over, allow the emptying leg to release. So my back leg takes over and move away from the front leg, letting it relax and release. Front leg takes over, move away from the back leg, letting it relax and release. When you're coming forward, most of the forward motion happens to the 50-50. Going to 70-30 doesn't move the torso much. Moving back, you don't move much before you get to 50-50, and most of the motion happens off the back leg. Shifting under the bridge, not over the bridge. Hips moving as if on a shallow walk. Riding down the half pipe, riding up the half pipe. Once more, back and forward. Change sides. Starting in the 70-30. Sit down, which moves the hips back. At 50-50, you're standing on the rear leg. You're letting go of the front leg. Sitting down, which moves you forward. At 50-50, you're standing on the front leg, letting go of the rear leg. Which leg is supporting you? Which leg you're standing on changes in the blink of an eye at the 50-50 point. Front leg, front leg, front leg, back leg, back leg, back leg. Back leg, back leg, back leg, front leg. Most of the motion happens off the back leg. As you come forward, you move a lot. Changes to the front leg, your torso only moves a little. As you go back, you get to 50-50 quickly, and then you move a lot on the back leg. Get the change of which leg is supporting you, crisp and definitive. Right there at the 50-50 point. Once more, back and forward. Great. Back to the first side. And this time we want to pay attention to which leg is the active leg. And what's going to happen with this is that as I sit down, the energy is going down through my front leg, increasing the arch on the front leg. Then at the 50-50 point, the direction changes. And now the rebound comes up through the front leg as the front leg arch decreases. Sitting down on the back leg, the energy is going through the back leg, arch is increasing at 50-50, allow the arch to decrease, but the rebound comes up through the back leg. So the energy goes down through the front leg at 50-50, it changes direction, then it comes up through the front leg. Going forward, goes down through the rear leg, at 50-50 it changes direction and comes up through the rear leg. So which leg is supporting you and which direction the energy goes through the active leg, both change at 50-50, but they change differently. This is really important. You got to work this one. You may need to go real slowly and figure out what actually happens at that 50-50 point when you tap the earth's strength to cause the rebound to come back up through the leg. And your clue is it has a lot to do with the role of the ball of the foot, the heel of the foot, and the way that the arch increases going down and can flatten coming back up. As always, make sure you're not thrusting. The rebound comes through the leg, not throwing the meat around, not thrusting. Once more, going back, and then coming forward, and switch sides. Going down through the front leg, arch increasing, tap the ground, coming up through the front leg, arch decreasing. Going down through the rear leg, arch increasing, tap, coming up through the rear leg, arch decreasing. The direction in the active leg changes at the 50-50 point. Once more, going back and coming forward. Great. Looking at the stepping work, stand on one leg, put the other leg out in front of you, sit down a little more so the leg's really out in front of you. Stand up, taking the slack out of the empty leg. Keep standing up, which draws the leg back. Sit down and feel that make your knee buoyant, and then allow that to step the foot. Standing up, foot doesn't move till the slack is out, and then you keep standing up, draws the leg back. Sit down, buoyant knee, foot steps. Get the slack out, let the foot come back passively. Sit down like displacing water in a bathtub, which ends up moving your foot. Really get this clear so that there's no activation in that empty leg. Either sitting down and stepping or standing up and drawing the foot back. Okay, once more. Standing up, slack is gone, draw it back. Sitting down, knee buoys, foot displaces. Change sides. Sit down a little further, leg is out. Stand up, take all the slack out of the empty leg. Keep standing up, let that draw the foot back. Sit down, let the buoyancy in the knee end up displacing the foot. So working both sides of this. Really important to take all the space out of the leg so it comes back without any activation. And sitting down, really allow that knee to float, and that'll move the foot. Standing up and sitting down. Once more. Great. These two drills are based on one of the 5 loosening exercises that Wang Shengshen developed. Wang was one of Professor Cheng's top students in Taiwan. And when we first learned these, they were described to us as pure leg torture. So try not to have the work in the leg of sitting up and down take your mind away from actually watching how it moves the foot, because that's the important skill. And then one more. Let's do the Hero Stroll. Sort of like the Hero Stroll. We'll just walk. So step out with the foot. Sit down underground. Come up the front leg. And as you do that, gradually take the slack out of the rear leg. Peel the heel off the ground. It'll tilt your pelvis very slightly. Release the rear leg. Put an idea in your foot. And let the foot just step. Come forward, slack out of the rear leg. Release, knee helps you step. Come forward, up. Peel the rear foot off the ground. Release it. Make sure you keep the ball on the foot, touching the ground. Don't let it roll onto the toe. Turn around as you need to. We'll walk a time or two across the room. Standing up, slack out of the rear leg, pelvis tilts slightly, release it all, idea in the knee, foot steps. Stand up on the front leg, slack out of the rear leg, release, idea in the knee, foot steps. Really an effortless and not controlled step. The control is in the knee, no activation in the foot. The stepping is a feeling of release and letting go. A few more. Okay, one more step. So these are 3 different mechanisms for stepping, and they cover most of what happens in the form. We've got the displacing the bathtub water. You sit down in a bathtub and the water goes up. And what you do when you sit down in the bathtub and the water goes up is you let that buoyancy go into your knee, and then you can use the knee to send the foot where you want. And so that happens right here at the very beginning. I sit down, buoyancy in my left knee, and that steps the left foot. It happens other places in the form too. The single whip step is pretty close to that. I sit down and I allow that to displace the foot. Then there's this drawing the foot, getting a feeling of tautness, of no slack in the leg, and having that move the foot. That is really noticeable going into white crane as you do this. It's other places too. And then there's moving away from the rear foot and then allowing it to step and directing it with the knee. And that happens notably in what we're going to do today as you move away from the rear foot and then you release it, idea in the knee, and the foot steps. And then you move away from the rear foot, you release it, idea in the knee, and the foot steps. So work on these and look for them in the form. Let's do a first third. While you're doing this first third, pay attention to your stepping. Distinguish heel from ball, Know when your feet leave the ground and when they return to the ground. Notice if you're activating the foot, if you're engaging the leg and the foot in order to step, and try to use one of these mechanisms that we've just given you to step instead. Go ahead, sitting down into the bathtub. How are you going to step that left foot? And now how are you going to step the right foot? Feeling both feet connected to the ground, no rolling around. Standing up moves the left leg. Like the Hero Stroll, move away from the rear foot, release it and use the knee. Stretched out, released, directed by the knee. Okay, so the punch. Step, parry, punch. Let's do checkpoints and all that jazz first, and then we'll figure out how do you breathe life into that. So, from brush knee, sit back and turn, pivoting on the front heel. Left palm rotates out, right hand ends up about a palm span in front of your crotch, protecting the groin. This all needs to happen at once. This isn't a bunch of things. You don't sit back, drop your hands, turn your waist, pivot on the heel. You spiral into the rear leg, and that results in the front foot rotating on the heel. Of course, because it's authentic, it doesn't move immediately. You're sitting back and turning, and then that takes a little bit of time to work out through the leg. The front hand is dropping as you do this all the way through there. And the left hand is rotating. Make sure it gets palm open. A lot of times people leave their left hand behind or maybe have it face their thighs, but really get it to rotate. So do this with me several more times, paying attention to everything starting together, everything finishing together. Go ahead, sit back, turn, everything arrives together, and you're 100%. You can pick up your front foot without changing anything. Back to brush knee. Sit back, spiraling. Front foot pivots, front hand drops, left hand rotates. All at once. Once more. Sit back, rotating. Everything together. Now shift forward. As you shift forward, you squeeze a fist and you move away from the rear foot. Comes up onto the ball, very much like the Hero Stroll. The arms will expand a little bit as you do this. Not because you're pushing your arms out, but because the whole body is coming through here, filling, and that runs out into the arms. So, from brush knee, first checkpoint, sit back, turn, everything together. Second checkpoint, shift forward, squeezing a fist. Moving away from the rear foot, make sure it's still on the ball, not the toes. On the ball, there's still a dynamic tautness through the leg. On the toes, everything's gone out of it. It's just slack. Brush knee. Sit back. Shift forward. Take a break. So we make the fist as we shift forward. Various people make the fist at different times. I don't know, I like this one, but I don't feel that strongly about it. What I do feel strongly about, though, is how you make the fist. And the way you make the fist is that it comes from the little fingers first, and then the thumb rolls over it. So you don't start from the top and try to cram the pinky finger in. You start from the pinky side, and everything comes in. And then this thumb needs to come down and cover the top two knuckles or the top segment of the fingers, not sticking out. If you've ever hit anything with a fist, you'll know that if you have a thumb sticking out like this, you'll only hit something once, and then you'll go to the ER to get a splint to fix your broken thumb. So make sure the thumb is back. The fist itself, the classic notion is that you've got a caterpillar sitting inside your fist, and everything comes down and curls around the caterpillar. You don't let the caterpillar out. There isn't an opening that the caterpillar could crawl out through, but you also don't squish the caterpillar, because that would be gross and you'd have caterpillar guts all over your hand. And more importantly, what it means if you squish the caterpillar is you put tension in the fist, and then you won't be able to clearly transmit the energy through the arm and the fist. You still need to have beautiful lady's hand. You don't want the wrist cocked one way or another. You still have from the middle knuckle down through the forearm one line, and the fist is there. Soft. And unlike some arts, we do not tighten the fist when we actually punch. You keep the fist soft all the way. The punching contact point is these outside knuckles here of the hand. And so what happens is you've got the forearm bones, they come in a line and they go right to those knuckles. So this whole thing is lined up and you can send the energy right out through there. So that's what you want to have with the fist. And when you make the fist, when you sat back and you do this, the little pinky comes in, the ring finger comes in, the middle finger comes in, the first finger comes in, and the thumb comes down and closes over it. So, from brush knee, first two checkpoints. Sit back, everything happens at once. Shift forward, squeezing the fist, moving away from your rear foot. You have the fist exactly when you get forward. The arms have expanded a little bit. Once more. Brush knee. Spiraling into the rear leg. Shifting forward, squeezing a fist, moving away from the rear foot. Now this is like the Hero Stroll. Release the rear foot and let it step. Have that whole feeling be one of the whole body releasing, not a step of the foot. You're not back here moving your foot in and out. The foot sweeps. Sometimes it's called a half moon or a crescent moon shape. It makes a sweeping motion like that. So it comes in by the other foot and it steps out. But that is one motion, not two. It's not a step in, step out. One motion as the foot swings. And as you do that, the arm switch expanded slightly, will just relax down. You'll have a feeling of the whole body, letting go, and the footsteps. Brush knee. Checkpoint number 1, check your weight, all the weight in the back foot. Shift forward, squeezing a fist. You know how to squeeze a fist now. All the weight in the front foot. Release, let the foot step. Next checkpoint, shift all your weight into your right foot. Let the arms trail behind. My waist will be left of center here. So I'm not arms behind me. And even if my waist is left of center, I'm not pulling my arms behind me there. They just swing up, and you are 100% in your front leg. So, checkpoints. Brush knee. Sit back. Make sure you're 100%. Shift forward, squeezing a fist. Make sure you're 100%. Release, stepping in and out. Make sure you're 100%. Shift, arms trail behind, waist is left of center, 100%. Turn your waist, hands, and foot. Step for 70-30, 100%. The knuckles of the right hand are faced out, not the tiger's eye or tiger's mouth, this part where the caterpillar is not crawling out. The knuckles are faced out. The left hand is high. This is a strike. Take a break. So this thing about the knuckles is it has a lot to do with the path the arm takes. Step forward, deflect, parry, punch. So part of what you're doing here is connecting to somebody and taking them over. So Beth is punching at me, and I connect to her here, and then I deflect her off to the side. As I do that, I'm also striking here. So this hand is a strike, and it's a strike to the person who's in front of me. I'm not striking someplace over there. I'm striking her. So I want to make sure that I actually connect. We know that would be ward off. And then I turn my waist, which deflects her over. And that ends up with the fist being like this. If instead what I do is I just bring my hand across me, and I drop it down, I'll end up with the opening facing out rather than the knuckles. And you'll see how well that works. Right? See, my hand didn't connect to her. So that's pretty stupid. I need the hand to connect so I can deflect. All this has to be driven by the waist. Your rear foot moves when it needs to. Ben would always do this demonstration. To emphasize that everything is driven by the waist. This isn't move my hands, move my foot. This is a place where the separation really matters. I see people having trouble with this a lot. It's because they're not separated. And so when they get through to here, they have to take a sudden step. And then they end up with weight in the front foot. So make sure you're really separated. It comes across here, and when you land, you're empty. So let's do it again. Brush knee. Sit back, rotating. Right palm protects groin, left palm rotated out. Front foot pivoted on heel, no weight. Check it. Shift forward, squeezing a fist from the pinky side up. Rear foot is empty, no weight. Check it. Allow that leg to swing. No weight. Check it. Shift. Waist left of center, arms trail behind, shoulders are comfortable. All your weight's in the right leg. You can pick your back foot up. Turn your waist. Deflect Beth's punch. Left hand strikes. Left foot steps. My waist is right of center now, and all my weight is in the back. Then sit down to put the front foot on the ground and shift into the punch. Final posture in the punch. The fist is right to your center line. You're not punching over on the side one way or the other. Right to your center line. Remember that it's this outside of the knuckles That's what's actually contacting the other person. Your left fingers point right top corner. So that means the forearm isn't vertical, it's not horizontal, it's 45 degrees. The fingers aren't pointing to the side, they're not pointing straight ahead, they're in between. The left fingers point right top corner, and the left palm faces the right forearm. Not left hand further out. This is a thing that people often do where their left hand is further out. No, the punch is further out. And the two meet your center line as if there was a piece of tissue paper from your belly and your belly button and your nose extending right out in front of you, and the two hands just meet it. They don't break through the tissue paper. You don't cross here at all. So they're just right there. The forearm is parallel to the ground. It's not up or down. The wrist is beautiful lady's wrist, not cocked some way. You may not have to go to the ER for your broken thumb, but you might end up having to go to the ER for your broken wrist if you try to hit somebody with a bent wrist. Let's do it a couple more times, stopping at every checkpoint, and then Beth will help us get some life into it. Brush knee. First checkpoint, sit back, 100%. Both hands moved, front foot rotated, everything finished together. Second checkpoint, shift forward, squeezing a fist. Rear foot comes up on the ball, arms expanded slightly, 100%. You can pick up the rear foot. Let the rear foot swing. That's a feeling of relief. Everything let go. It steps down, empty. Shift, arms trail behind, waist left of center. Shoulders are relaxed, 100% in the right leg. Think about the right arm and the left hand. Turn the waist, deflect, strike, and step. Everything arrives together. Front foot touches down just as your right fist reaches your side and the left hand strikes forward. And of course, all the weight's in the back and the knuckles are facing out. Punch. Come forward, punch right to your center line, left finger's right top corner, left palm relates to right forearm, hands don't break through the tissue paper, eyes watching front. 70-30, square. Again, checkpoints. Brush knee. Go ahead, shift and turn, check the weight, make sure your left palm turned out. Shift forward, expanding. Heel of the ball of the rear foot touches the ground. All the weight in the front. Let the foot swing in and out. No weight when you touch it down. Shift, arms trail behind. Waist is left of center. All the weight is in the right foot. Turn the waist. Right arm deflects. Left hand strikes. Left foot steps. Everything arrives together. Do the last bit a couple times. So you really get that feeling of everything arriving together. Put your heel down, pick it up, see that changes the arms. Put it down, pick it up, see that changes the arms. Put it down. Waist is right of center. Punch. Right in front of you. Forearm parallel to the ground. Wrist is not broken. Thumb is safely out of the way. Caterpillar can't escape. Left fingers point right top corner, left palm faces right forearm, two hands touch the tissue paper but don't break through, eyes watching front. Once more. Brush knee. First checkpoint, separated. Second checkpoint, separated. Third checkpoint, separated. Fourth checkpoint, separated, waist left of center. Turn the waist, move the arms and the foot. Fifth checkpoint, separated, knuckles facing out, hands struck high in front of you, not over to the side, waist right of center. Fifth checkpoint, final posture. Punch, right top corner, palm forearm, not breaking through the tissue paper, eyes watching front. Okay, great. So enough of this mechanical stuff. Let's give it some life and some rationale.
Great, well, let's do some more. So I want to look at this kind of funky step, the crescent step, half moon step, whatever you want to call it. This is one of the reasons that we do the Hero Stroll walking so much, because this is exactly what we're doing in that exercise. So once you have moved into your left leg, you're moving away from your right foot. That's what peels the heel off the ground and comes up onto the ball. Once you come to the toe, as Lee has been pointing out, it makes there be slack in the whole leg, and then you have no choice but to pick it up and move it. But if you do this motion where you come into your left leg by leaving the back leg behind, it gets stretched a little bit into a nice dynamic tautness that when you release it, it can go somewhere. And then we aim, and we aim with the dantian. So that step has this quality. It's the release and the turning that makes it work. So you have to move away from it in a way that gets that dynamicism into the leg, not tension. You're not pushing off that leg. It's really, really different. Do it with me a time or two. And now we're going to you move into your front leg, and as you come into the front leg, you're just leaving this leg behind, and it stretches, it gets longer, and that's what peels the heel off the ground. Now come into your right leg again, and as you do it this time, when you shift into the front left leg, push off the ground, and notice the difference. It's really different. When you push off the ground, you still have no choice but to move your foot. So do the Hero Stroll approach. You move away from the back leg, it gets a little dynamicism, and then and notice the pelvis is a little bit tilted, all that stuff. It's not that I'm bending over at all, but there's a sense of being held in a moment that you can release and then turn. Now, timing is really critical here, because you can't simply release the leg. When we do the Hero Stroll, you get yourself up, and then you release, and the foot goes. For this, you have to catch the moment and use the waist to turn to send the foot where you want it to go. So if it's you can lose the moment a number of ways. I can be here so long that then when I let it go, I forgot all about turning. I can be in a hurry to turn before the foot actually got its stretchiness. So it may take a while to get your timing, but that's the thing that you need, is to feel the moment that the leg is ready to release, the pelvis is ready to come in underneath you, and as it does that, you turn just a little bit, and the foot arrives in the place you want it to. And you're not going to land with weight already in that foot, because that's just, it's still free. There's nothing, you're doing it all off your full leg. So let's do this piece a few times. And release and turn. Now, you don't have to be in a hurry. Timing doesn't mean fast. It just means the right time. Release. And do it again. Moving away from that leg, letting it get stretched, and release and turn. And the leg just lands. When it lands, it's going to land in the shape that you want it to be in, which is that the heel is pointing toward the top third of your foot, and that kind of a relationship, not far away from you. If you step it, it's going to end up in a place that's far away because you step. So this is a lot further than if I let the Hero Stroll action take over, and it will just land in a good, comfortable place, which incidentally is right underneath me so that I can shift into it and I don't have to travel a great distance to get there. So let's do that much again, and then we'll look at this moment of trailing the arms. So 70-30, into the back leg, spiraling, hands in position, shift, you squeeze a fist, foot lets go, and lands. Now you've got to get into your right leg and catch your arms in a functional place. Jane would always say to us that the arms should trail. And so those are the words that we always use. That's what that means, is it's got this kind of, you're going in one direction, it's a little bit like you're in water and you've got a little drag, if you will. And so that's what makes the arms trail. It's not a big positioning, but it's not dead, oh, trailing arms. Actually, let them have a little life and try to see how your dantian can make very slight little changes to support catching your arms there. Because when we get into this position here, there's a little bit of turn to get the foot in position. And so if I just shift into my leg and put my arms out, they're not really with me anymore. I've just kind of picked an arbitrary trailing arms place, and they're not functional. So it's really important that you use your arms in a way that makes them functional. So the arms. Now notice what I'm going to have to do to catch them. There's a little bit of a turn back toward the left to catch the arms. So if you just watch what the hips are doing, there's a lot of little changes. Until you come around to the front. So it's not something you have to do in an active way in all those places. I'm not, I let the swinging leg just follow, and I kind of help it along to this place, and that's what moves the hips a little bit. And then when I want to catch the arms, again, I just make a very slight change that's led by the feeling of getting my arms connected to my body. It is absolutely not a situation of turning this way, turning that way. It's small. If you think about trying to keep your body integrated and send your legs where they need to be, catch your arms how you need to catch them, that's going to lead you to make the little bits of waist turn that happen. So I keep saying the arms have to be functional. What does that mean? So I have my partner here to help me demonstrate. So we get to this place, and I shift and catch the arms. And if they are in a functional place, all I have to do is turn, and energy can be delivered through them. This isn't a classic application for this particularly. It's more illustrative of where your arms are functional and where they're not. So for where they're not functional, let's see. So here I just put them someplace a little arbitrary. I turn my waist, nothing happens. I connect them, and everything's different. It's a small difference maybe, but you can feel it. And the dog gets very excited. So, I know you probably don't have a compliant Lee there at home with you to practice this on, but let's spend a little time trying to get this feeling. So, we get to this point. Get your arms connected to your dantian. And make just a little change. Just turn a little bit. I mean, of course, the weight's in your right leg. Your left foot is empty all the way through this. But make just a little change and see if the arms respond. Then kind of put them someplace arbitrary and make that little change. And see that they don't respond. Then, once you have them someplace where you can't get them to respond, see what you need to do to link back up with them again. Not that that's the place that you want to go to, but I want you to feel the difference. There's a place, no matter, even if I end up with my arms in some crazy place, I can feel the moment that they would be able to deliver energy. That's the feeling you want. Hard to describe, play around with it. We often talk about wiggling the body to see if your arms are in a place that is connected, and you could do that here. So you catch your arms, you're in your right leg, wiggle. If you wiggle and your arms are connected, the wiggle will go through them. Now, note, I'm not doing this. It's got to be driven by the body, the torso, and then put them just like 1 inch, ½ inch away from that and wiggle and see that it doesn't transmit. So figure out where you need to be to have them connect with you and note that feeling. So it's not so much a place that you put the arms when they trail, it's a feeling of once you've come into this right leg, do you shift in a way that connects the arms to the torso? Because the next thing you want to do is move the torso and have it direct the arms. So let's get ourselves up to that point of having the fist. Lee's already gone over how the arms move from this trailing place. They're moving together, and then they do different things as you keep turning. So at this point, the fist is palm out, even as the palm is hidden behind your fingers. And the two arms move in decidedly different ways. They start out, when they do the trailing thing, they're moving together, and the shape does this. It's an upward curve. That's how you meet the incoming energy and deflect it away. So it's got this upward curve, but right about at the center, they've got two different jobs. So the left hand is going to follow that trajectory and strike out. The right hand follows a different path, and it drops down by your side, palm facing out. It may be tempting to think that it makes a big circle. See how I'm following this big circle out here? But then look how it lands. It lands with my elbow stuck to my side and my palm facing, my fist kind of sticking out. So it's not that it follows this same line and swings wide. It comes up and it drops down by your side. So let's do that much up to the point where your fist has landed by your right thigh from here. And spiraling, shift, release, shift, catch your arms, turn, doing the same thing, doing different things, you keep turning. So now your down hands to the right of center, your left hand has struck out, and your right fist is in close by your right hip, palm facing out. So now we have a new problem. How do you get the fist to be connected to the body to deliver the punch? If I just shift, it didn't actually end up where I want it to go. We don't chamber our punches. So if you've done other martial arts, you might have worked on a moment where it comes up. And you could even think about sitting down and picking it up so that it's chambered and ready to haul out. But that's not what we want to do. So you want to make sure that when it lands here, it's not pulled back at all, and it's not going to be pulled back. I'm also not lifting it. What makes it come, here it's down by your hip, and when I punch, it's out here, a lot higher. We talked about the forearm being parallel to the ground. How does it get there if I don't lift it? Well, this is a moment for the special moment in the hips. So the same way that when you are working a move like this, you have to catch the arm to bring it over, you have to catch your fist. Now, we often think this is easier to find in low punch, so go find the low punch video where we talk about this. It might be easier to get that feeling there, but I'm going to assume that we can move on and look at it in this position. So, your fist is at your side. You need to get it connected to your center so that when you shift and turn, the punch is delivered. It's not something that comes from the arm. So what do? You're going to sink a little more into your right leg. Remember that allows for a little bit of rotation, passive rotation. So as I sink, I'm going to turn just so slightly into the direction where my fist is. And from that, it starts rising. It's like there's some kind of dynamic connection between the two. As I sit into my right leg and turn to the right a little bit, it brings the fist into position without doing something with the whole arm. So that's the feeling you want to get, is that there's a dropping further into your right leg, turns you a little bit, and then you shift and the punch is delivered where you want it to go. So let's give that a shot. From the start, and begin. Dynamic tautness, release, shift, arms trail, catch them, turn. Arms do different things as you keep turning. Now your fist is loosely hanging at your side. Sink, and notice that you've stepped, your heel is on the ground, not the whole foot. So now sink a little more to catch it. That puts the foot on the ground. Shift and turn, punch delivered. Let's do it again. And go. Catch the fist and punch. I'm not a aspiring auctioneer like Lee. I can't say all those things and not have them stop our movement. So I'm not talking because I want you to get the flow, the feeling of it actually happening authentically. So remember all the parts. And go. Moving away from the back leg, letting it go. Arms trail. Fist is by your side. Gather and punch. And once more. And go. Final posture. Hang out here a moment and check it out. Angle of your forearm. Angle of your left forearm. Center line. Where is the place of contact at just in head of the knuckles there? Everything is squared up, not crossing. Punching hand is lower. And it's also a little further out. You should be in a good 70-30 and feel very stable here. Rest your legs. So let's do the form up through the punch. And begin. So, We're almost through the first third. See you next time.